Day 135. Damn. All right. How to stay and feel young. My camera a little blurry. Hold up. All right, there we go. How to stay and feel young. Couple tips. Really, how to feel young. How to stay feeling young, I should say, as you age. Where does the aging process start um, in your body? Like as far as feeling, you know what I mean? Not looking, but just feeling. And I think it really starts in the hips. The hips, having tight hips, this is what I learned. One, I've never really been super flexible throughout my life. And having tight hips causes a lot of pains everywhere. Lower back pains, knee pains, ankle and feet, um, upper back, neck. It could cause headaches because everything is out of alignment, right? When your hips are tight, if it starts throwing off your back, now your spine is in positions it's not supposed to be. You start pinching nerves. Pinched nerves can lead to headaches. Pinched nerves can lead to sciatica pains, and different things like that, right? So, and just being out of alignment, that's your nervous system. You know what I mean? So it's sending signals everywhere to all your organs and all that. So if your nervous system is slightly out of alignment because your back is out of alignment due to the hips being tight, then you can have other issues, right? That's why it's good to go to the chiropractor. I typically go to the chiropractor, but going to the chiropractor is not enough because it'll adjust you, but you still have to strengthen weak areas. You have to loosen tight areas. But some of those tight areas are still weak areas, and that's the thing that with like especially with the hips is that you can have tight hip flexors. Like we typically as humans have tight hip flexors due to the fact that we live sedentary lifestyles. We're seated a lot. We sit down to eat. We sit down. Think about it. You go to school for what 13 years, I think, from when you like 5 to 18. Yeah, 5 to 18. So about 13 years, not including college, just regular grade school, right? You go to school for 13 years. You're seated most of the day. You come home, you eat, you're sitting down. You're watching TV, you're sitting down. Well, being seated a lot causes tight hip flexors. Also, now we are on computers and we're on our phones, which is also causing us to now roll our shoulders forward. You know what I'm saying? Because we like this, all of that. And that's just making matters worse, right? So having tight hips, now also couple that with being on the phone, being on the computer, being hunched over like that and not even realizing it. But the tight hip flexors due to being seated is a problem. So a lot of times they tell you, make sure you stretch out your hip flexors. Now that's good advice, but the only problem is stretching out your hip flexors is not enough because one one is hard to really get mobility and flexibility in your hips and just your body period, but in your hips if it's not strong enough, if your muscles aren't strong enough to retract back to its normal uh position. What I mean, if you go to do the split but you can't pull yourself back um without assistance, it's going to be hard. Your body is not going to, the brain is not going to signal to the muscles to relax and extend as far as possible because you're not strong enough to pull yourself back. So when you work on flexibility, you also have to work on, bringing, retracting. So that's like what Pilates is good for, right? But you need to like just doing yoga, you're holding positions, but more so with Pilates, you're stretching, but you're doing it in movement. So that's a good way to become more flexible. You have to lengthen while strengthening at the same time. You can't just lengthen because the body the signals from the brain to the muscles is going to say, no, don't do that because we're not strong enough to pull ourselves back. So it's important to do the exercises that way. But like I said, the hips cause a lot of pains. When you're having lower back pains, that's going to make you age, right? It's going to make you feel older. You're like, you're waking up with back pains. When you was young, you didn't wake up with back pains. So naturally you think, I'm older. I'm getting older, which you are. But a lot of it is in your mind too, right? As far as, excuse me, as far as how you feel, your actual physical feeling, it's all in the mind as well. So if you feel older, right, it's going to make you think you are older, which you are, but you're going to think that you're older than what you are. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. It's like you're going to be 35, 40 years old, but you're going to be like, man, I feel like I'm like 50, my back, my knees, everything. And you start feeling older and you're telling yourself that. So you just continue to age yourself. Because remember, you have a lot of power in the mind. The mind can heal your body or it can damage it. You know, stress kills you, right? That's all in the mind, the stress. But placebos is a thing too, right? Where you take pills, sugar pills, and you think this thing works for said, illness or whatever, but it's a placebo. But because your mind believes it works, it starts to heal your body, right? So everything is in the body. So everything is in the mind, excuse me. So you must, make sure you are thinking young to feel young. But if you're having a lot of nagging pains, it's going to make you feel older. And a lot of these pains stem from lack of mobility in the hips. Trust me. As I'm starting to work on more of my mobility in the hips, but doing it correctly, which is lengthening and strengthening at the same time, not just trying to lengthen. You have to be able to work on pulling the legs back to the natural position. And initially, you might need a little bit of assistance. You can, like, if you go to one, real quick, I know I'm kind of jumping around. Let's say if you're working on the splits, something that I've never been able to do, and I'm working on it now, right? So I get you could get the sliders, the furniture sliders. Get ones that's good size for your feet, and then you can slide your feet out, and then you could bring them back in. But of course, you're going to need some assistance because the sliders, once you start going out, it's really hard to pull yourself back in. But as you're doing that, you're strengthening as well. So now your brain is telling your muscles it's okay to extend out further because we have the strength to come back. You can still get there without doing it this way, but it just makes it a lot easier. Trust me, from a dude who I'm talking about super tight. The other day I was in the gym and I couldn't do a full split. But I'm getting better, right? And I was holding that position for like 3 minutes and I felt comfortable. And it was the first time in my life. Like usually when I go to stretch like that and I hold the position for a while, I'm sitting there in agony, like, oh my God, trying to fight through it. And I can't wait to come back to normal position. But to be honest, I was there for like 3 minutes and I felt comfortable. I could have probably stayed a lot longer. And my feet just kept sliding out slowly. You know what I mean? Because I was still holding my ground slightly with my heels off of the sliders. So I won't just slide all the way out. But because some of my foot was still on the sliders, it was still like gradually just moving. And I just felt comfortable. And I was having a little bit of back pain the other day due to the fact that I was doing some drills at the gym and I hurt my back. But then when I went to the chiropractor one time. It didn't really do anything. But when I started doing the hip mobility exercises, my back feels great now. It was aching the last 3 days, 3, 4 days, but now it feels real good. So, like I said, hip mobility is everything. When your hips are out of alignment, right? What happens? Your knees start, because you start getting tighter at certain spots on your quads, which will start pulling your knees in different directions, like just slightly. If it pulls it that way, now you start having knee pains. Or if you compensate with the knees somehow, and you don't even consciously do it, maybe you don't have the issue Then what happen is your ankles, you start one foot to start sliding out further than the other. And next thing you know, you walking like this, or you walking like this with the duck feet. You feel what I'm saying? So all of these different things stem from tight muscles, but really the hips is like the number one thing. If you can fix the hips, not just be able to uh, have the flexibility, but the strength as well. That's very important. Having the strength as well. Um, but yeah, that definitely will help out. It'll help out with your upper back as well. You know, when the hips are out of alignment. I've been going to rehab. I went to rehab for my knees. I went to rehab, and I'm going to rehab now for my shoulders. Right. And when I was going to rehab for my knees, one of the things I had to work on was my IT band. That is the side of your leg. It goes from like the hip all the way down to the knee. And that was tight. But also I had to work on my inner thighs, right? And the adductor muscles. And when I started to do some foam rolling, or you could use a stick and you roll on the leg, it starts loosening it up. But that wasn't quite enough. I still needed to strengthen everything too. You know what I mean? And I strengthen by weight training, strengthening by being able to open up and close and open and close. Um, what else? What else? But yeah, at the end of the day, work on them hips. Um, oh, I had a meniscus. That's what I was getting at. I had a meniscus issue. And, you know, part of it was because I had tight hips. So it was pulling my knee a certain way. Then when I was playing ball, that's how I end up hurting my meniscus. Same thing with my back. Due to my tight hips, it caused me to have back issues. And I had to fix that as well. So work on the hips. I hope this works for somebody. That's the best way to feel young. And then as you continue to feel young, you'll keep working out. You'll be more vibrant. You'll be walking more. You'll be running more. You'll be because running, sprinting, and all that stuff. We're not supposed to stop doing this. We think we are, but we're supposed to still be able to sprint regularly. They say after 30 years old, like 95% of the population doesn't sprint anymore. That's insane to me. You know, but we're still supposed to be able to sprint. And as a matter of fact, we're not even supposed to lose that much speed, to be honest with you. We just stopped doing it. They say you ain't really supposed to lose like significant amount. There was a study. If I could find that video, I'll show it to you. A significant amount until you're like 70. That's when you really start like really supposed to like just fall off a cliff as far as losing speed. And there was a video of this old guy, old white guy at that too. He was at a track meet. He wasn't, I don't think he was 70 though. He might have been like a little under 70. But he had a full white head. And this dude was sprinting. He was haul assing down there. I was like, damn, yo. He was peeling. So at the end of the day, if you work on the hips, it will stop a lot of the pains. Also, cutting out sugar. Cutting out things is gonna make you inflamed. You know, inflammation is bad for your joints. Inflammation is bad, period. It's bad for the gut, it's bad for everything. So try to cut out as much processed foods and as much processed sugar as possible. You can eat fruits, obviously, but you know, the processed sugar, try to cut it out as much as possible. And that's how you continue to feel young physically, where you're not having as much pains, which is going to make you want to work out more, exercise more, be more active, which is also going to continue to make you feel young. Because on top of that, people will say, "Hey, you look young, you're vibrant, you know what I mean," and that's going to make you feel more young. And as long as in your mind you're feeling young, you're not going to age as fast. And it's just a ongoing cycle of my body's not feeling that bad because I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. People are noticing it. You know, it's making me feel a lot younger. I want to do more. So my body's looking better and it just keeps going in a circle and you just continue to look and feel young. Hope this helps. Till next time, peace.